Lights, camera, action.
Thank you. Morning. He's excited. Yeah, as am I. Hello, good morning. I'm at King's Cross. It is Monday the 25th of October 2021 and there is a brand new train operator in town. Here is the logo. That O though, we could do with just raising that up. There we go. That's the Lumo logo. Lumo, really cheap way to get from London here up to Edinburgh, Scotland, like this. Today's trip on the Monday is the first passenger service, but I'd also been invited on the press event which took place 4 days prior on the Thursday in the previous week. Back then, it was all speeches and flashing lights and press photos. Today, though, is with an actual passenger train carrying actual passengers. And those passengers are either going to just Newcastle, Morpeth or Edinburgh Waverley, as those are the only stations that this train is calling at. Although in future, when the service is expanded from 2 return services a day up to 5, some of them will also be stopping at Stevenage as well. Check their timetable to see which ones. But what is the journey like? How's it going? So, it's a bright blue train, it's a Hitachi, it's class 803001, it's 5 car, it's diesel only, it's not a bi-mode, I beg your pardon. What am I saying, diesel only? It's electric only, it's not diesel, thank you. There's a little bit of battery power, we'll discuss that. And I've got to get on because it's 10:40 and it leaves in 5 minutes at 10:45. So let's talk about their cheap fares then, because straight away I meet someone on board who's also got themselves an incredibly cheap ticket. This is Chelsea.
Hello.
Hello. Thanks for being in my video.
No worries at all.
What's your website?
cheapholidayexpert.com.
Now we're talking to you because you bought your ticket for a ridiculously cheap price when this was first announced. So how much did you pay and buy and when?
It was £13.10, but that was with a 26 to 30 rail car, which I'm desperately clinging on to as a 31-year-old. It will come to an end, but I'm making the most of it whilst I can. That's it here. You want to see the price?
I do a bit.
There we go. £13.10.
But that's one way.
That is.
And you're coming back tomorrow.
I have booked.
So it's essentially it's a £26 return to Edinburgh.
It's ridiculous, isn't it?
But this is only like an introductory offer, is that right?
That is correct. So it will, after the 5-week initial period, go up to £30, I believe, for the cheapest ticket. But with a rail card, that'll be £20 as well. And in general, that's going to be for 60% of the tickets.
So are Lumo trying to take on the other train operators? Well, no, says their customer experience director, whom I got to speak to in the previous week whilst on the press trip.
We're really keen on making sure we remove barriers to travel, and ticket pricing and complexity is one of those key items. 60% of our tickets will be priced at £30. We're obviously accepting rail cards as well, which will discount that figure for customers, and we're really offering a very, very competitive price. Our target market are people who flew between London and Edinburgh. So prior to COVID, 74,000 people were flying between the two cities. We're really trying to target that market and say, take the greener option, take the cheaper option, sit back, relax, enjoy our service and meet our team.
Time to head to the vestibule to explain the amenities and see where the toilets are. So I'm in carriage D. Carriage D is that way. The thing you must know, in case you don't know, this whole thing about the cheap tickets is because there's only one class. Now they're not even calling it standard class, they're just saying it's one class, it's just one class. The point is there's no first class on this train. It's only a 5-car train. It's the Hitachi 803, it's 5 cars, and there's a toilet in every carriage. So there's the regular toilets in 3 of the carriages, and there's the accessible toilet at each end, and there's also the bike racks too, which are being used here as luggage storage, and I want to go and see where the accessible area is. The accessible area is in carriage A, and is exactly the same as on other Hitachi trains. I spoke to this wheelchair user passenger who said that they'd had no problem with booking assistance and getting on board.
The door is now locked.
Just a note, it's the standard Hitachi toilet, nothing else to say. Oh, except there's my reflection. It's the standard Hitachi toilet as you get on the other Class 800s.
Good morning. We will shortly commence our seat trolley service offering hot and cold refreshments and a variety of snacks. All details of items available can be found in our Lumo app.
This is Nick.
Hello.
You're excited?
I am.
Because of the York thing?
Yes, very much.
What happens at York, Nick?
York. So most trains go through York, but this Lumo train avoids it on the bypass avoiding line. It's our first opportunity and my first opportunity, and we're all very excited.
Do you have one of those maps which you colour in? Do you colour in the map?
Well, I better do one for this particular journey.
Yeah, I want to see you colour in a map, Nick.
I'll do something on Twitter. I'm really looking forward to it.
This was actually the moment from the press trip last week when we went up the avoiding lines and I got a shot out the window. And is it me or is that yep, all together now, it's an allotment. back in another vestibule because I'm picking on Danielle, a member of staff here, because what happens is that there's no guards on this train, there's no train managers. On a Lumo train they call them ambassadors, wearing their very blue Starfleet Command Star Trekkie Star uniforms. What happens is that at the moment there is a catering service coming down, they bring down a trolley, but Danielle, you can also, I gather, you can order food in advance via the app. How does that work?
You can, yeah. So on our app you can order what's called Lumo Eats. So you pre-order and basically that'll come to the train and we deliver that first. So any pre-order you make, we will deliver that to your seat straight away, and then the at-seat trolley service will commence.
Like at my seat, I checked out some of the basics. There's one 3-pin plug socket, the right way up, and 2 USB-A's shared between the 2 seats. There's a fold-down table with a light too, which if you press the button for a second time, actually dims it slightly, which is nice. And then I realised that the tray table actually extends out, and it almost, oh so almost, meant that I could open my laptop screen the whole way. Something which I don't think I've ever been able to do on any other train. The red and green lights for the reservation system didn't seem to be working at this time, but it was enabled later. Most people put their luggage in the space above, but as you'd expect, for a London to Edinburgh service, there was a lot of luggage and it was quite tricky to squeeze it all in. So that's the socket, tray table and light, but this is the biggest thing which people will be asking a question about, and that is how comfortable are the seats? Well, there's 2 things to test here. By the way, you've got the sliding down on the window, so you've got the great elbow test. Is can you get your elbow in there and rest your elbow in? Normally I would just rest my elbow and then put my head on my wrist. But the great thing about these trains is that they've got these side headrests right here, which means you can totally just like lean in. No need to rest your elbow because you can just rest your head. And my eyes are asleep. I'm going to have a nap. So if people say, is it comfortable? I would say, can you fall asleep? And I can tell you that on the press trip last Thursday, for about half an hour, I completely fell asleep. And you'll note there that I fell asleep in the windowless seat. Let's discuss that for a moment. So, I don't know what to call this. This is like, it's the corner seat on every train at either end. There's a seat here, which has got no window. Now, I put this out on Twitter last week, and this caused great divide, because some people were saying, that's terrible, why would you have a train with no window? Surely you could use this space for luggage space. Interestingly, there was a reverse, there was a counter argument, and some people were saying no, it's perfect if you want to sort of, if you're hungover, if you want to sleep, you can tuck yourself away. Or more interestingly, people were saying if you've got a laptop and you really have to do some work, it's the great place to sit to guarantee no glare coming in from the sunlight through the window and onto your laptop. So some people enjoy this sort of little cubby hole seat. So be aware, here it's 91, 92, 93, 94 over there, and there's some at the other end as well. So there are some seats which don't have windows. Walking down the carriage, I saw my friend Roger. He told me he'd spotted some interesting movement in the pathing arrangements that trains were taking up the East Coast mainland today, all arriving within minutes of each other at Edinburgh. Have a read of his blog for his thoughts on the matter. And just then, we got to Newcastle. It's 1:39, I believe. We've got in a little bit early, because we're not due out to 1:47, so 8 minutes of stand time at Newcastle. We're coming on 2. I can totally get a cup of tea from the cup of tea place down there. Alright, we're due out, yeah, we've got 8 minutes. The joke we were making on the press trip last week is that the uniforms that the lovely Lumo staff are wearing, it's a little bit Star Trekky, right? But then today, I'm thinking their slogan, travel well beyond expectations, just makes me think of, I want to say Buzz Lightyear, to infinity and beyond expectations. That's a really good light, by the way, look at that. We stopped at Morpeth as per the schedule on time, and I remembered to get a shot of this dog for the obligatory pet wins in internet video moment. And then the silhouetted pantograph also reminded me that last week I'd asked about the electric train and the limited battery power that it does have.
It was always going to be the Hitachi units because it's always better to buy a second generation of trains. We knew the trains were cleared for the route, we knew the trains could work on the route, so we did a deal with Hitachi. There is extra batteries on the train. Where they took the engines on, they needed to put the weight to balance it out, so they used the weight balance in battery technology. So there's batteries on. The batteries won't provide any traction and move the train from A to B, but if we get stranded for some reason, touch wood, we never get stranded, but if we lost overhead wire power, they can last up to 4 hours and give you slowly load shedding to give auxiliary power to keep the lights on, the heating on, the aircon on.
And then I spoke to Managing Director Helen Wild, who explained that whilst the train is very blue, it's actually also very green.
6 times greener, okay, and what we basically did was we designed the service to try and reduce reasons why you wouldn't do it. First of all, trains are expensive, not if you travel with us. 60% of our fares will be under 30 quid, tick. It's not very comfortable. Well, we spent a lot of money on time on design, holistic design, in terms of the seats, the lighting, the tray tables, etc., the customer experience in terms of booking, but also on the service that the ambassadors give, so that it's very much more service-led, looking at what you need, etc., menu, entertainment, Wi-Fi and so on. So another tick in the box. No first class, we're inclusive, everybody gets treated the same, which is how it should be. And then saying to you, well, why wouldn't you? With all of those things in place, there's no reason, and we can get you there in 4.5 hours, which actually, if you went door to door on a plane, by the time you unpacked your stuff, sat in the bar for half an hour, parked the car, etc., is probably on a par. And you haven't had to move around and go through all that agony while you're doing it. So why not? And try and give people the opportunity to test it out.
Oh, and one final press trip flashback was that Lumo had got singer-songwriter Tom Walker on board to help celebrate the launch as he performed several of his hit songs. Now, I'd love to include them in this video, but YouTube will demonetize me faster than you can say leave a light on, which is why there's a secret hidden link down below to take you to an unlisted video where you can watch the performance. And with all that, our train was rapidly approaching Edinburgh. And hello Edinburgh, made it to Waverley, in on platform 10. How was your cheap ticket?
It was amazing.
Would you recommend?
Absolutely. What's not to love? 13 quid, what a bargain.
That is the new and very blue way of getting from London to Edinburgh, and both ways. Lumo website, very cheap tickets. Remember, the £20 tickets were just up to the end of November. It's £30 in advance. Prices do go up more than that if you get in slightly later, but they're taking on the airlines, not necessarily LNER, but it's a really cheap way to get between London and Edinburgh.